Hello, everybody. So, I am back again with another chapter today because I needed to know what happens next. So, I hope you guys enjoy. Perfect Sun by That One Guy with That One Ship. Read by Munchin on Mochiko. Chapter 15 Through the Arch. Delia was lying on her back, and there was a ringing in her ears. How had she fallen? What had happened? There had been nothing that could have hit her. Her mother hadn't been close enough to strike her, surely. Lucine's heel came down in front of her, black as night. Lily looked through the arch, the green underside of the shoe framing Sun as he stood in the doorway, flinching in sympathy. The image only lasted for 1 second, and then Lucine moved, stepping over her. Lily felt the pain. It bit. Gladian said something, but Lily couldn't hear what, with one ear pressed to the ground and both of them ringing loudly. Lily heard the smack, though. 2, 3, 4. Gladian was whimpering now, and even more sounds of impact rang out. Lily could still see Sun flinching. He said something. The sound stopped. His mouth moved again. Lucine replied. Sun spoke. Silence. Gladian ground, and there was the sound of something making contact with something else, much softer than before. The ringing finally whined itself out of pitch. Lily could hear her mother's footsteps back across the room, towards Sun. Sun looked scared of her now. He leaned away at her approach, and that alone seemed to cause all the aggression to bleed out of their mother. Lucine kissed him on the cheek, holding his hands in hers after some coaxing. "Thank you for telling me about these two, Sun." Sun nodded, but he looked terrified. His bottom lip quivered in fear. "Sun, they're not like you or me. Don't feel sorry for them. Simply hope they learn from their mistake." Sun didn't respond to her. He was looking at Lily, and Lily was staring back. It wasn't Sun's fault. It wasn't. "Lily?" he asked, his voice breaking. It was still Sun's voice. He said it in the way he would have if he still cared for her. Are you... Lucine cut him off. "Let her hurt, Sun. You shouldn't care about them." Sun obeyed reluctantly. He tore his gaze away from Lily. Lily shut her eyes. Slowly. Sun had been scared for the remainder of the day. He didn't know who to trust. He loved his mother, but Lily and Gladian were right when they said they'd get hurt if they stayed. But his mother hadn't hurt him. He buried himself in his bed again, where it was most comfortable. He didn't want to see the Pokemon without his mother watching over him, and he didn't want to go outside at all anyway. He was afraid. Lily and Gladian hadn't come back in. He wanted to see if they were hurt, but he couldn't. Mother had told him not to. He was so conflicted. He took the sheets as well as his pillow and hid underneath the bed. It was comfy and dark down there, even if the floor was very hard and stiff against him. He didn't have anything to keep him company except his own thoughts. He wanted to do something more, something useful, but he didn't know exactly what that could be. Maybe if he had his own data pad, he could learn more about the Pokemon around Paradise. Maybe if he had some paper, he could write ideas on how best to preserve them, but he didn't have much. Sun had started to become very slightly suspicious. Why hadn't his mother given him anything? Where had he come from? Did he forget all of his early life? Lily and Gladian were definitely brother and sister. He was definitely Lucine's son, but there was something wrong, wasn't there? He couldn't tell what. Thinking was difficult. It felt like his brain was blocked when he tried to tell it things. Thankfully, he was pulled out of thinking when the door opened again. The sound of clicking. He knew what it meant. His mother, in her heels, walking on the tough, white floor. He watched them move, remaining hidden beneath the bed. Sheer, black, angular, the 2 diamond shapes on each one, encapsulating her feet. The heel itself sharp-looking, carefully balanced. "Son?" There was a tremble in her voice. She thought he had ran. "I'm down here, Mother," Son called. She faced the bed, the points of her heels towards him. He held his breath as she crouched, one knee coming closer to him than the other. She was kneeling in such a position that she could see Son, but Son could barely see her mouth, her lips. "Son, I'm sorry." She slid her hand beneath the bed, and he hesitantly lay over hers. Her faint smile was all she could see. "Son, would you like to come out of there?" Son withdrew his hand from hers and brought his legs closer to his body, shaking his head. "No." He watched her mouth move, transitioning between many shapes. Her actual expression was unknown to him without the sight of her eyes. "Are you scared of me?" Lucine asked. She kept her hand beneath the bed. I think so," Son said. He cautiously touched her waiting fingers again. "But no, I'm not scared." "But you won't come out from under the bed." Lucy's patience was actually quite a long stretch of time. Son was hardly testing it thus far. "Would you like me to come under there with you?" Son thought. I don't know if there's enough room." "Shouldn't be a problem, Son." She moved to lie on her side and slid in beside him. "No," he exclaimed, and Lucine hesitated. His fingers twitched against hers. "Please," Lucine begged. "Trust me, Son." She couldn't lose his love. She had to hold on to him. "They said you'd hurt them." His face, half hidden in darkness, was plaintive. "They were right." Lucine turned away, looking for something to say. Son saw her mouth open, heard her inhale, then watched as she closed her mouth again. She took her hand away. "Just come out from under there, please." "It's comfy." Son snuggled deeper into the duvet. "Can I stay?" "Fine, Son." It seemed as if she was about to leave. She shifted as if about to get up from kneeling. "You're my..." she began, but stopped. Son felt drained suddenly. He wanted to hear her say the words he was used to again. He reached out his hand further, but Lucine ignored it. She stood. "Wait," Son asked. "Wait, I'll come out if you want me to." Lucine adored the dependence in his voice, the obedience. How easy it was to manipulate him right back into wanting to be with her. She was this close to having him again. She'd fuck him before the day was over. It was so fucking simple. The ability to turn him into a tool for her pleasure, a fantastic result for all her procedures. "No, you stay if you want to. I'd better go." "Mother," he called. Lucine started to walk away. "Mother," Son repeated, louder. You can stay." "No, Son, You're scared. I understand. I'm very sorry. She turned the door handle, Son hearing the click. He said nothing. Maybe he was harder to control than she had first considered. I won't come in tonight. That thought ought to give him a little more to protest against. No, Mother, I'm okay. Son poked his head out from under the bed at last. Lucine was hit by a strong pang of something she may have called conscience. Why had she done what she'd done? Purely to torture Lily and Gladian? To see if the methods used to change Son would work? To acquire the new ultimate trophy? She paused, her hand gripping the handle. Would you like me to stay? Yes, Mother, Son said in a bit of a fever. Yes. Lucine now moved in a very specific way back to the bed, sitting cross-legged from in front of where Son lay. You're a good boy, Son. Not like them. They want to run. Son wasn't paying attention to what she said anymore. The angle, Lucine said, had given him a straight view of her dress. Son? Yes, Mother, I'm good. Lucine was also invisible to him. Once again, her face was partially hidden. Son could only see her smirk. I'll be good. That's my perfect boy. She put her hands on her hips. I can trust you, Son. Son's attention was briefly taken away from her presenting herself to focus on her hands closing over her waist. She was wearing her usual leggings, but the obvious implications of how she was allowing him to stare was clear. Yes, Mother, you can. If you hurt them, they deserve it. His head was on autopilot. All his concern over Lily and Gladian's beatings were exhausted. He only wanted to be lifted into her arms and be against her warm skin, held in her embrace, smell her hair. You're right, Son. Of course you are. She smoothed down her dress, bringing more attention to herself. You're absolutely right. That's why you're my favorite, you know. They don't. Son was hypnotized. Lucine was cast in a light from the single window, accentuating the shape of her legs and her hourglass waist. It brought her infinite pleasure to see the child that may well have been her undoing, so enthralled by her beauty. That was why she had done it. A foe had become a friend. More than a friend. A son. He was edging his hand back towards her. He wanted contact, and she firmly denied him, keeping her hand on her hips. Mother, you can come under if you want. I'm fine here, Son. She continued smiling blithely, ignoring his agitation at her apparent lack of understanding. She understood. He was being completely overridden by the lust they had programmed into him. He had no choice now. If she asked, he would obey. I'll come out. No, Son. You stay right there. But, yes, Mother. He still moved so that he was facing her head on, playing right into her plan. Now she took her hands off her hips, reaching them under the bed where Son took them. It was an inversion of the stereotype. The monster found the little boy under the bed. Lucine felt the familiar presence gnaw at her mindfulness, the other side of herself. She dropped the smile, focusing on not being taken over. She pulled Son towards her, not aggressive, more caring. He didn't resist, still staring up at her dress until reaching a certain point, at which he finally met her eyes and saw the hunger. The green lasers cutting into him, saying, I know you were looking. I know what you want. interested?" Lucine asked softly. Sun's expression of embarrassment at being so easily seen through changed. He had a tiny smirk. "So cute." "Yes, Mother." So that was chapter 15. I hope you guys enjoyed that chapter. Now, I did have to cut out a couple sentences after Sun says yes, Mother, just because YouTube can be weird sometimes, and I didn't want to take any chances with that. Now, for the next chapter, 16, I was told to skip it, which I will be doing, but let me know if that is a good enough chapter. I don't want to say good enough, more has enough content, I suppose, where I can do a reaction. If not, I'll just read it on my own and tell you guys my thoughts, briefly, before chapter 17. But yeah, I hope you guys liked the chapters this week, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.